Hello, everyone. Welcome to an introduction to the initial artifact analysis assignment. So this assignment is really the first step of the critical analysis project. And in the initial artifact analysis, you will choose and analyze an artifact. Um, I know last week we talked about reverse engineering the initial artifact analysis. So we talked a lot about what we might want to research, and we brought up a bunch of sources that might help us in our research. But really, this first step is unlike the research paper that this assignment will sort of become. The first step, as we can see, this paper will have your voice and your observations. So this first step is really just using the fundamental moves of analysis to analyze one cultural artifact. As the critical analysis project goes on, we'll expand, we'll do research, discover what others have written about the issues related to your artifact. But initially, here in this assignment, we are solely using analysis to pick apart our cultural artifact. So I want to just go over the prompt with you real quickly. It can be downloaded right here. So what is this assignment? As we said, we're going to choose a cultural artifact and perform close analysis of what it is communicating and how it is communicating it. In about 2 to 3 pages. That doesn't seem like a lot of pages to me. I think it might be helpful if you aim for the 3. That will help you in the later stages. You already have a little bit more work to draw from. So I would shoot for 3 if you can, but that is a suggestion, not a requirement. Please include a works cited where you provide a citation for your artifact, but that will probably be the only works cited for this assignment, as it's your own analysis of your artifact. So this assignment might be a little bit different than other types of writing you've done. So it might be helpful to start describing it by what it isn't. So one of the first key moves to make when entering an analytical perspective is to try and suspend your initial judgments and turn your focus on observing details and patterns. So in last week's discussion, I talked to a lot of you individually in replies to your discussion, and I said that we're interested not only in what is being communicated, but how it is being communicated. And so regarding that what, one way to keep our analytical minds open is to reserve judgment, jumping to evaluation. We're not looking to see if the text is good or bad. It's not about whether you agree or disagree with what you find the artifact is communicating. It's not about whether you like it or dislike it. It's really focused on evaluating how meaning, emotion, information is being communicated. Also, we urge you not to settle on any central argument. Unlike other writing processes, this critical analysis project doesn't ask you to choose a thesis and then find a bunch of research that supports that thesis. The way we're going to approach it is more curiosity based. So if you've come across 2 competing ideas about your artifact, we don't require in this assignment that you choose one and go with it. We're trying to keep our minds open and possibly consider alternate viewpoints to fully analyze what might be going on in some of these complicated artifacts. Lastly, it's not just about description and summary. It's easy to fall into only summary, and I think one easy distinction to make is summary, again, we can think of summary as what is being said, what is being communicated, whereas true analysis will begin to explain the how is being communicated, what small parts of the artifact, how do those small parts work as a whole to have an effect on the reader or viewer. And I wanted to just show you the grading guide I'll be using. As you can see, fundamental analysis is weighted quite heavily. So initial analysis is explored thoroughly with attention to specific detail. This is a very detail-oriented assignment. Articulates moments of intensity, patterns of frequency, contrast, and anomaly. These are all the fundamental moves of analysis that we're going to learn this week. Works to make the implicit explicit. What are any of the implied messages within the artifact? And these can sometimes seem really obvious, right? But analysis really makes explicit any sort of implied messages. Weighted a little bit less, 30% is rhetorical analysis. This asks us to address the situation in which the artifact is created or is being used. So really just questions like who created it, where was it published, who's the intended audience, and how might the message be affected by the audience and the author. Also look for any elements of ethos, pathos, and logos. Not all artifacts have all three of those things though, and that's okay. And lastly, 20% goes to organization, style, and format. So what is an artifact? Well, anything created by humans that communicates meaning. That doesn't mean that anything created by humans that communicates meaning is a good artifact for this project. Examples are a website, an image, articles, poems, short clips from a movie trailer. Any of these things are artifacts. I really suggest watching this video created by the director of writing. He does a really good job of describing what a quality artifact for this project can be. So the fundamentals of analysis are something that we will practice again and again and again in this class. Please watch this screencast created by my colleague Marie Wiley for Writing 121 eCampus sections. After you watch the screencast from Marie, there are a lot of videos here that show this analysis in action, sometimes in pretty humorous and fun ways, which really is the joy of analysis. Is it can be quite entertaining to take these cultural pieces and actually pinpoint how they work. So I just want to point out that we've dedicated a relatively brief amount of time to what may be a new way of thinking and writing to you. So please, I encourage you to ask any questions you have on the Ask Questions Here discussion. Fundamentals of analysis are key to this project, to this assignment, and to the critical analysis project as a whole, and they will continue to play a role in the assignments throughout the class. So if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I hope to continue discussing the fundamental moves of analysis throughout the term. So what we're going to do this week is basically practice for the initial artifact analysis. For Wednesday's discussion, I asked you to choose 2 artifacts and give sample artifact proposals. Basically, for each of these 2 artifacts, you're going to answer some of these questions. Background information, summary, as I've said, sort of what happens, and then we're going to move into fundamental analysis. Ask those heuristics, those questions that are the fundamental moves of analysis. Ask, what patterns of frequency do you notice? What patterns of contrast? What anomalies? What sticks out? And finally, what moments of intensity seem the most important to what this artifact is communicating? And of course, how do patterns within the artifact create meaning? Really, the $1 million question, right? We can begin to answer that question in this assignment. It may take more, it may take further along in the critical analysis project for us to fully answer that question because it's a big one. Lastly, penultimately, we asked some questions about rhetorical analysis. We just talked a little bit about that. Are there any elements of ethos, pathos, and logos? Who's the author, the audience? What's the message? And 5, looking ahead, what are some potential research topics? We've already sort of talked about that a little bit. So I've included some sample artifact proposals here. And also, if you want to see how those sample artifact proposals became final initial artifact analysis papers, there are the corresponding papers available to view here. So for Wednesday, we're posting these artifact proposals. And for Saturday's attendance, please post responses to other posts by Saturday of week 2. So choose 2 other posts and respond. There's a few questions I've written out here to prepare your responses. So first, read the artifact proposal you choose, then view the artifact, then read the proposal again. Here are some questions to consider in making your responses. So that is the short introduction to the initial artifact analysis and the reading responses, and the discussion posts for this week, in which we will basically be practicing for that first assignment. So again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to post to the Ask Questions Here discussion board. This is a little bit different kind of way of thinking and writing than you may have been asked to do before. So any questions you have, I think it's best to ask them early on rather than later. All right, well, thanks, and I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with in your initial artifacts. I look forward to seeing your artifacts and how you are beginning to analyze them, see how meaning is created in these cultural pieces.